You're listening to the Ordinary Joe's podcast with Joe D and Eric B. Ordinary Joe's podcast.
All right, it's been a while since Joe and myself has been on doing a podcast. Like we say before, things get busy. We have, personal lives outside of the podcast that we do. And we always say, hey, get to do that first, and then we'll jump on the podcast whenever we're ready. Today's not a movie review or a show review, which we were trying to, but texting Joe during the week, he's not caught up on a lot of things, so that's totally fine.
It's hard to keep up with all these shows.
Man, I finished She-Hulk, and we'll talk about this. We'll talk about this when we start podcasting. But just because we forgot last time, let's not forget this time.
Yeah,
let's go ahead and get this started. I am Eric B.
And I'm Joe, and we are the Ordinary Joes.
I already forgot what we were gonna. I was like, wait a minute, do I go first?
That's hilarious.
Oh, man. Yeah. So, again, usually we talk about movies. Today we're going to talk about football. We talk about our two respectful teams. You see Joe wearing the Giants there. I'm not wearing anything 49ers just because they have a bye week, and I'm very superstitious when it comes to wearing gear when they're not playing. That's just me. I don't know what it is. But I do coach high school football. For you guys who follow me on my podcast, I do coach high school football, and that's been kind of a roller coaster season as well. But yeah, we're going to talk about all things football. Football. Joe's a Giants fan, and man, your Giants are 6-2 in the NFC East going against. Man, let me ask you this. We'll touch on we'll go all over the place when it comes to football.
Right.
Did you expect Philly to be 8-0 right now?
No. I expected Philly to be good. I didn't expect them to be 8-0. But it's kind of par for the course, man. And I say this, and I say this so many times when I talk to people about football, especially living here in California, San Francisco. Not everybody, but most people are Niners fans. So they always ask me my opinion about my team. Yeah. And I always say, without fail, like, the Giants could be playing terrible like they have for the last, 6-7 years. But whenever they start playing well, the rest of the NFC East plays well.
Don't you hate that?
It never feel if we're playing bad, everybody else sucks. So I mean, you look at us right now. We've got to go against the Cowboys. We've got to go against the Eagles. Commanders are kind of trash, so I'm not too worried about them. But I'm not surprised, honestly, because we're doing good, and it's a surprise that we are doing good.
Yeah.
But I'm not surprised that they're up there, unfortunately.
Well, every team, like if your Giants was 8-0 or my Niners was 8-0, we'd be like, yeah, we're 8-0, right? But if it's another team, we're like, man, why the hell are they 8-0? Yeah. And they have the same group of guys that everyone knew just Jalen Hurts was going to be good. From Alabama, transferred over to, was it Oklahoma? I forget where he transferred to.
I don't know much. I don't follow college too much.
But no, he was good coming out of college. So when Philly picked him up, I was like, okay, that's going to be a good pick. But man, for him, this is his third season?
I think so, yeah.
And for him to be, they were a player away from being where they are right now, and that, they actually look good.
Yeah, I was really jealous when they got A.J. Brown. I thought that was like a really good pickup.
Yeah.
Especially considering Giants, I'm amazed that we're 6-2 because we don't have any offensive receivers pretty much. Yeah. I mean, a few weeks ago we went with a 3 tight end and a look with Saquon as a out. I'm like, what is going on right now? So if you would have asked me if we would be 6-2, I'd be like, no.
Yeah.
But when the Eagles, when they got AJ Brown, I was like, damn it. That's a really good look. And I think he fits their style of play. He's a big guy. He's physical. I mean, that's what, as much as I hate the Eagles, I've always envied their style of play. It's always that kind of old school throwback, ground and pound, but they can still kill you from the air if you don't respect it. So,
I mean, that's something, we talked about this. I think we talked about this a couple of years ago when we did our pre-football chat, like what we expected our teams to do. And I think I brought up how if the Giants can get a receiver to help Daniel Jones, I think you guys will be all right. Of course, losing someone like Odell, who's like, hey, I'm not going to play with you guys anymore. I mean, the thing the front office should have done was like, okay, this quarterback is good, but he's not the greatest. So let's find someone to complement him. Let's find a receiver that can help him out. And there was a lot of good draft picks coming out of the draft this year. What was your draft pick this year? Where were you guys at? Or who was your number one draft pick this season?
Our number one was, I want to say it was our Thibodeau, our defensive lineman, which was I'm happy with. And then we got in the second round, I believe it was Evans, an offensive lineman who's hurt. I mean, a lot of Daniel Jones's like the beginning of his career, let's say, a lot of that stuff was the old regime as far as staff and coaching and all that. This year, coming into this season, we're getting a new GM, a new head coach, so we didn't know what was going to happen this year. I was glad that they cleaned house. I was tired, like I said. Giants been, I don't know, 6-7 years since they were even a contender. They've been terrible. So I was happy with like the new class and everybody coming in. And so they right away started making changes that I liked. They started making the defense stronger.
Yeah.
We did have offensive weapons, but everybody got hurt, so now we're at the point where like we didn't even make any acquisition before the trade deadline. And when they interviewed our GM about it, he's like, look, I know we're overachieving.
Yeah.
So I don't want to, burn ourselves at the bridges, like trying to achieve something that we may not be able to get this year. I'm looking towards the future. I'm not giving up on our future for, us overachieving now, which I respected. And I was like, you know what? Fine. I'll go with whatever he's going. We got a winning record right now, so why not? But I think going forward, we really have to look at some tools for him if he's even still on the team, because they really don't seem like they're loyal to anybody right now.
I mean, he's a decent guy. I mean, like he's making the smart throws, and that's all it is. You just need that one offensive coordinator that's like, hey, look, if he's not open, use your check downs or just take off running. I mean, talking about overachievers, let's talk about my Niners, man. We're like, we lose like draft picks to pick up a quarterback in Trey Lance, and I had high hopes for him. I'm not a big Jimmy fan. For all you Niner fans right there, I'm not a big Jimmy fan. I'm not sold on him yet. Yeah, he makes the plays, but to me, he's just a little bit better than Daniel Jones. And the only reason why I say that is because he has the weapons. If you put Daniel Jones in our system with the Debos and the Ayuk, I think Daniel Jones will shine. So, and you put Jimmy
he's got legs.
Yeah. And if you put Jimmy with your group, it's like, okay, he's going to look like the Jimmy that everyone expects. Just because, he was a backup to Tom Brady, doesn't mean he wasn't going to be good. I'm not sold with him. So when they were going to trade him this year, I was like, go ahead, trade him. Do what you got to do. It's like, and for our number one pick to get hurt, it's like, oh, man. And then here he is, Jimmy Garoppolo, who's actually doing a decent job this year. But again, he's not like throwing, 300, 400 yards a game. He's just doing dump passes, and he's letting the Debos and, with the acquisition of Christian McCaffrey, that makes him even look better this year. So, but to me, it's a long season, and I'm going to be the first one to tell you, man, they're not going to probably going to make the first round of the playoffs. I don't know how far after the first round they're going to make. Well, we might even see each other in the playoffs. Who knows, right?
Me personally, I think the Niners are going to get better as the year goes on. I agree with a lot of what you said. I think a big problem with that too is play calling.
Yeah.
The reason why we've had some success the Giants have is because the head coach and the offensive coordinator have been running plays that kind of take a lot of the choice or decision making out of Daniel Jones's hands.
Yeah.
So he doesn't make a lot of mistakes. I think you guys kind of need something like that with Jimmy, because you have so many weapons. You have Deebo Samuels. You just got McCaffrey, which was huge. Ayuk is great. You have Kittle, who's healthy. I mean, you guys have a squad. You know what I mean? But Kittle's a fine example. He's one of the best tight ends in the game, and he's a great blocker, and they end up using him more as a blocker most of the time.
Oh God, yeah.
But let him out, let him fucking loose. I mean, it's hard for a lot of linebackers to cover that man. And when he gets the ball, you know how he is with yards after the catch. He's a beast. So I don't know. I think if you guys could get some good play calling and stay healthy, you're definitely going to be in the playoffs for sure. Man, and if we're lucky enough to be there, it'd be fun to have another bet. It's
funny you mentioned that because we'll definitely do another. I don't know what the bet will be. I mean, I'm growing the mustache out. I got the hair. I'm not going to shave it for bets. I don't know.
I'm not doing a mustache.
We'll figure out a bet when it comes around. No, but it's funny you mentioned that because I'm not a big fan of Kyle Shanahan. Everybody's like, "What are you talking about? He's the best offensive coordinator," and I'm not a big believer of an offensive coordinator makes a good head coach. You know, it should be you are the head coach. You call the plays that needs to be called, but you have the offensive coordinator who calls the offensive plays. Head coach could always override that. Like, no, I don't want to call that, but let's call something else. But for him to be the head coach and the offensive coordinator, I mean, he's so predictable. I mean, he knows I'm going to run 45 times in a game. So when it's like 3rd and 2, everyone knows we're going to run. Yeah, they're going to run. So that first time that we played the Rams here at Levi's, when he went pass heavy instead of run heavy, everybody was shocked. We're like, oh, what the hell? He's changing the game, the gameplay. Yeah. But the following week when we played Atlanta, who was an easy team to beat. Yeah. Atlanta knew, like, hey, they're gonna run heavy on us, and they did. And it's like, dude, come on.
Is it true? Someone was telling me that Shanahan scripts his like first couple of plays. I don't know how many, but X amount of plays at the beginning of the game. He scripts it. Like, I mean, I get having, if that is true, I get having some sort of starting point, but you have to be able to kind of adjust to the game, to the defense. If it's not working, like you said, if it's, 3rd and long and you're in the I formation and everybody in the freaking building knows you're going to run for it, like might maybe do something different,
It's funny. There was a play that Jalen Hurts. I keep calling Justin Hurts. Jalen Hurts just did this week. It was a jumbo package. It was 3rd and 1. It was a jumbo package. 2 tight ends, fullback. Same thing you just mentioned. I formation, and they were like everyone just cramped the line. Everyone's like, okay, defense is like linebackers came up, corners came up, and then the tight end snuck out for a little pass, and that's where they threw the ball. And I'm like, fuck. Shanahan, watch this play. Everybody thought you were going to run, and it could have went both ways. It could have been terrible. Jalen Hurts, the way he runs, could have just ran for the first down, but that tight end snuck out, and he was wide open because everybody thought it was going to be a run play. Which me playing a defensive coordinator in high school, 3rd and 1, that's the first thing I'm thinking of. Okay, it's going to be a run play, but I also tell the kids, watch the pass. Right. And the fortunate thing about it being a high school football coach is there's not a quarterback that can throw the ball in San Francisco. Yeah. I mean, they can throw the ball, but it's one of those, they're not like your Tom Brady's or even like that Division I high school football quarterback like you see on YouTube or TikTok, right? These guys can throw the ball, but, they're not the best. Yeah.
Have you seen, we're about halfway through the season, right?
We're at for high school football. Yeah, we're at the final game of our season this Friday. We play Mission High School. Currently, right now, we're standing in the 2nd seed of the San Francisco division. So, congratulations! From last year, we were last place. This year, we're at first place. So,
So, have you seen anyone this season, whether it be on your team or any of these other teams you've played, that you say like, wow, that's talent? Like, that kid is, he's going to at least collegiate level.
It's funny. We have this kid. He's from Nepal. He's our running back. His name is Daraj. I'm gonna give him a shout out. Named Daraj. Came to high school, didn't even know what the football was. Of course, everybody from other countries, when they hear football, they think soccer right away, right? This kid is a little bit taller than me. He's what every man's body would like their body to be. He's cut up. He has, like a 12-pack, all that stuff. And he's fast as hell. Yeah. And he plays running back. And the only reason why he plays running back because his catching ability is not there. He can catch, but he can't catch under pressure. But yeah, this kid right here, you will see a play, and I'll send you links later on. But he'll be destroyed in the backfield. Everyone's like, "Oh, damn, we're looking at a 5-6 yard loss," And next thing you know, he's running towards a touchdown because he cannot be taken down. He's just that quick, you know? And yeah, this is the kind of kid that I'm like, dude. And it's funny because I'm the linebacker coach, the running back coach, and the defensive coordinator. And whenever we're doing running back drills, I'm like, you got to be able to know to go down when you have to go down.
Right.
I go, the last thing I need you to do is like hurt your knee, fumble the ball, or you're gone the rest. You tell these kids like go down because he's the kind of kid where it's like if there's not 5 guys taking him down, he's not going to go down. Right.
He's going to try to fight. He has all the heart in the world, but does. It's just. Be smart about what you're doing. So like, it's funny because we played Philip Burton, one of our first games in the season, and he scored like 4 touchdowns in the first half. Wow.
And this is the first game. This is game 1 of the whole collegiate season, right? We sat him the whole second half. He's also my starting free safety. Okay. So we sat him down and he's like, Coach, what are you doing? I'm ready to go back in. He's upset. I get it, right? I'm like, Daraj, dude, you scored 4 touchdowns already, man. In the first half.
Yeah.
I said
you proved your point.
I said 3 of them was running touchdown and 1 of them was a pick 6. I said, this is game 1. Wow. You want to survive to game 5 in the playoffs? He's like, yeah. I was like, well, I don't need you getting hurt for some stupid play later on.
Yeah. Don't need to pad the stats, especially in football. Too dangerous.
But it's funny because when you have to, with me playing fantasy football and, doing all that stuff, if I see like, why are you sitting this guy in like the last 3 minutes? I get upset as a fantasy football, coach or whatever you call that. But when you're actually having to tell someone to sit down because you already scored all the touchdowns you needed, it's kind of like, man, what's happened?
That's hilarious. Isn't it funny how the effect that fantasy football has had on the sport? I know there was a time where a lot of like the old school guys, players from 70s, 80s, they hated it. They said, it takes away from the sport. And we even spoke about this early on in our podcast. And I always took the stance that to me, it helps the sport because, before I would only watch Giant games. Yeah. I didn't really care about anybody else. Now, I'll watch a Detroit and Jacksonville game because, I have Hawkinson or, something like that. So, and it's funny how the fan and the fantasy player are 2 different individuals, even within yourself, right? Because like how you just said, there was a game a couple times where the Saquon Barkley had the ball and we needed just to run out the clock. But he could have scored a touchdown, but it would have given the team, enough time to come back, and we were close enough that they could have maybe tied it or whatever. So instead of scoring, he just kind of drops down to the 2-yard line, and it's like, but I have Saquon in like 30 lineups today.
As a fantasy football owner, it's kind of one of those things where it's like, you got to be smart about who you get, right? And it sucks because I stopped doing fantasy football. I've been doing a lot of FanDuel, which to me, Joe got me into this. Damn you, Joe. But I stopped fantasy football, and the only reason why I stopped fantasy football is for that exact reason. I was so focused on other games that I couldn't even focus on my team, couldn't focus on what my team needs, or just want to relax and just want to watch football. And Joe has what do you have, the ticket, the NFL Sunday ticket?
No, I have Sling TV, and then on there it has the Red Zone channel. Okay. So I just watch Red Zone and then maybe whatever local games.
Okay. Oh, I thought you had the ticket.
No, I had it. I had it last year or 2. I had it for a few years in a row, and I stopped. I think like last year, or the year before. I
think I have the Red Zone. I don't remember. That's on the NFL channel?
That's on a couple of things. You can NFL channel and come get that with DirecTV. You get it on Sling TV. There's a couple of places. So but that's good enough for me. You get to watch all the games at once. And if you're doing DFS, which is FanDuel or DraftKings, it's perfect for that.
Yeah, I mean that's what I mean. It's like whenever I watch these games, I'm focused on my fantasy football player, and I'm like, I gotta stop doing that. It's like, so I stopped fantasy football this year. It's actually been a lot better for me, but at the same time, these high school football coaches, there's like 6 of us. Like at the end of practice, they're all talking about their fantasy football team, and here I am just looking on my phone, Like, who are you starting this week? I was like, I do FanDuel, man. I do FanDuel. Yeah. Like, I already made like $300 off FanDuel versus what I would make on fantasy football in a season, right?
Mm-hmm. And that is the exact reason why I've played FanDuel for years, but I do one or two lineups here and there. I wasn't really big on it because I was always doing fantasy football.
Yeah.
And I was the commissioner of my league for a while. You played in the league 1 year. You played 1 year by yourself, which is pretty funny.
Yeah.
And I think it was after COVID, a lot of people backed out, and it was just becoming too much work being the commissioner. And I was actually in a couple of leagues, one of my cousins, and so I stopped after COVID. We took a break. We didn't know what the season was going to be like. But like you said, I kind of started missing it, hearing people talking about their lineups and things like that. Yeah. So I'm like, let me download FanDuel again. I haven't done that in a while, and hopped on YouTube looking up strategies and how to play, and went down that rabbit hole. And before I knew it, I was like back into it heavy. But what I love about FanDuel is that, I don't own a team necessarily like in fantasy football. So I'm not, I don't own Aaron Rodgers, and I'm not stressing over whether or not he's having a good game or not, because I'm probably playing 20 lineups. And I might have Aaron Rodgers here, and I might have Pat Mahomes over here. You're kind of playing the odds. You get to do a few different lineups, and you got a better chance of winning money playing that way than you do at the end of the year in your
fantasy football
year-long league. So I love it.
I mean, I damn Joe for this, because Joe's like, I do FanDuel, and I'm like, I'm not going to get into anything this season. Decided to, all right, let me see what this whole FanDuel shit's like, right? All right, did it, and I said, I'm only going to do football, and this is where FanDuel gets you, and this is what the annoying part about FanDuel is. Mm-hmm. They'll give you a voucher for a sport other than football, and the voucher is, FanDuel, for you guys who don't know, it's kind of like fantasy football. It's a weekly thing, and you can bet anywhere from $2 to, 100. I think 100 is the max. You can't get no more than 100.
No, depending on the sport. There's some games that are a couple $100. So for like the big ballers, there's some entries that are into the hundreds, but there's entries as small as 5 cents.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
So
yeah.
There's a little something for everybody.
So just think, the more you bet, the more money you get at the end, right? So if you bet 5 cents, you'll probably win like $3 at the end, right? And I'm happy if I ever get my money back. Mm-hmm. But I got a voucher during the baseball season for, hey, set up your lineup, and the voucher was free. So I'm like, all right, let me check what this is about. So I did, and then it was a free voucher. Ended up winning like $2. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I don't want to do baseball. Baseball's too hard. The following week, basketball season starts. I get a voucher for, hey, NBA starting. Here's a free voucher. Mm-hmm. So, of course, you pick. And for people who don't understand FanDuel, it's kind of like fantasy football, where you have a salary cap and you can pick an all-star lineup. I think they start you off with like $60,000, and every player is worth like 18, 20. You just got to you got to pick players within that salary. So, of course, you're going to get maybe 2 good players, and the rest are going to be wash up or bench coming off the bench. So I ended up doing this basketball one, and I ended up winning $5. And then now, because of Joe, and I blame Joe because he got me into this, I'm not just doing football, I'm doing the NBA also. Because it's like, all right, who's Steph Curry playing this week? Or who's, you always got to pick that top whatever player is going to be. And then that's how you go from there. Then again, you pick some mediocre guys who is coming off the bench, but it's been a lot easier than fantasy anything.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny how that transition happens, because I'm not a big basketball guy. I used to when I was younger. I watched it all the time, but I kind of watch it here and there. And, like we said, started with football, doing football. Football season was over, and I was just kind of bored now. Like, man, it was fun kind of doing all the research. And, and so I'm like, let me do a couple basketball games. Why not? And like you said, strategy for basketball. And that's the other thing. You have basketball, football, you have every sport pretty much. You even have UFC on there and racing, but your strategies for playing each one are different. And I won't get into the details of that, but as I started watching basketball, I realized, it's not so much about correlation. You just really want to get the top guys, the best, as much as you can within the restraints. Like Eric said, maybe getting a few sleepers. Somebody might, get hurt. So this guy's going to get more time. All right, maybe I'll play him. And now I find myself not only doing football and basketball, but it led into baseball. Like, because there was that gap where there was no football, basketball. Now I'm doing that. And I actually have done my best in baseball, surprisingly. And that's probably the sport I watch the least, because if I'm not actually at the game, it's kind of hard to watch a baseball game if it's not playoffs. This year, everybody knows Aaron Judge, all you baseball fans, he went crazy hitting home runs. And what did he tie Maris? So he broke Maris's record.
I don't remember. Yeah.
Somewhere around it. He hit about 62 or 63, maybe more home runs. Well, his 51st home run is the one that hurt me the most.
Wow.
Because, and Eric knows the story.
Yeah, he told me the story.
Had he not hit that 51st home run that night anyway, I would have won 25 grand. I was in first place. There was probably 2 games going, that Yankee game and another game. There might have been both maybe like 2 innings to go. There was not much to go. And I get up for work and I see I'm leading and I'm looking at the score and I'm like, yes. And I'm looking at my lineup and I can tell that my lineup is completely different from everyone else's. So I'm not sharing it with a bunch of people. Full jackpot is mine. I get ready for work. I walk into the room just happy, thinking about what am I going to spend this money on? And I just hear the crack of the bat and crowd cheering. And I'm like, because I know I don't have Aaron Judge in that lineup.
You're like, damn you, Aaron Judge.
Yeah. So 25 grand ended up being, I think, about $350, which, I mean, when I tell you I was like devastated that night at work, you would have thought someone died in my family. I'm like, fucking Yankees. Like, I
mean, 350 is better than nothing. I would have been happy with 350, but 25,000, 25,000 would have been like, hey, we're gonna house of prime rib for dinner tonight, kind of money, you know. But this whole FanDuel thing, I mean, it's just like I like it, and I tell a lot of, you know, the kids, the high school kids, they tried to get me on their fantasy football team this year, and I said, well, last year I came in first place, and no one paid me my winnings. And I paid $5, and I'm like, I'm still waiting for my winnings. Well, he graduated already. I'm like, well, still, you know. I said, if I'm going to get burned on money, I can play with my family because they never pay me either. So
exactly.
So it's like, I was like, I'm not going to do it this year. But we've been doing a lot of FanDuel. And some of the kids who I said I do FanDuel, you know, it's, of course they're minors, so they can't really gamble legally, right?
Right.
But they were like, they're like, that's pretty cool too. My dad's always doing FanDuel, and you know, my dad came home with like $3,000 last night. And I'm like, cool. How much did you get? He's like, I didn't get anything.
Said my dad got it now.
My dad got $3,000. He's making some modifications on his Supra. No, but it's a cool thing. I mean, what I like about FanDuel versus fantasy football, like you said earlier, is we have to wait till the end of the season to see how much money we make or we get. Even if, you know, you make the top 4, you're guaranteed some money in fantasy football. Or here, I put in $3-4, maybe even like $10, and then by the end of the work week or end of Sunday, when it comes to football, I'm making like $350, $400 right away. I was like, that's more than I ever made playing fantasy football.
Yeah, it really is. And what I love about it, it really has me looking at the game, you know, differently. You know, because the more I start studying about how to set up your lineups, you start thinking about like game script. You know what I mean? Like, if Patrick Mahomes is playing, you know, it's going to be a pass heavy offense.
Yeah, you know that.
So, and if I'm going to pick 2 of his wide receivers to kind of have big games, well, then it only makes sense that I pick Patrick Mahomes to go with them to get those points, double up on those points. And then you just start looking at different things like that. You'd like start looking at matchups, and do you run back with someone from the other team? If it's going to be a shootout, probably both sides are going to be scoring. So you start looking at the game completely different. I know you as a coach are already looking at the game differently. So I'm just curious, how you look at the game as a coach's perspective or for someone who plays DFS, is it similar at all or completely different?
No, it's totally different. I mean, you know, you're talking about high school kids who I brought this up on Friday with one of the coaches. We have 11 guys on the team on my defense. And out of those 11, I would say 5 of them are athletic.
Oh.
You know, the other guys are just big-bodied guys who we say, hey, play D-line because you're big.
Yeah.
Athletic-wise, they're okay. Football mentality-wise, they're okay. But the 5 that we do have that's athletic, their football IQ, everything's there. So when it comes to the NFL games, then I start looking at teams that who I know will be dominant. And the thing that sucks is like the Niners are supposed to have the number 1 defense. And I always pick the Niner defense on FanDuels. I do single game on FanDuels. I don't do like the fantasy football style. And the Niners defense never does shit for me, which pisses me off. Because depending like that, let's go back to the Atlanta game. Oh, they're going to blow out Atlanta. They're going to kill Mariota. No, they gave up like 40 something points or 35 points. So you got to start looking at things like that. So I look at a team like Philly. All right, Philly's dominant, but then also look at the team that they're playing against. If they're playing anybody in their division, I'm not going to pick that Philly defense just because everybody in that division is hunting for them, right? Now, if they're playing an AFC team like maybe Kansas City, all right, maybe I'll pick the KC defense because, you know, Andy Reid's an asshole and he wants to be the best team out there right now. And he wants to make a statement, NFC or AFC. So, yeah, I can see him bringing the defense to kill someone like Jalen Hurts. Like, hey, the only way we can stop this guy is to break his legs. So let's go after him. And I can hear him saying that. So I would pick a Kansas City defense over, everybody else. So it's kind of the mentality of how I pick on FanDuel really depends on how I think maturity-wise that defensive team is.
Right. No. And see, everything you just said is another big reason of why I love, fantasy football, because you can tell what separates the good players from just maybe a novice or someone who plays occasionally, right? Because of how you're looking at the game and how you like anybody can say, go ahead and pick the best players.
Yeah.
Right. We all know, Steph Curry's good. We all know, Kevin Durant's good, but it's not just enough to pick the best players because we have to do it within restraints. You have to be able to pick players that people may not know, but from watching the sport or being a coach, that guy's going to have a good game because, Detroit's defense is shitty.
Yeah.
And there's so many tools out there and websites. There's one in particular, Football Outsiders. They do this DVOA where they'll break down offense and the defense and they rank them. From best to worst, but you can kind of rank it from subcategories too. So like, how are they against tight ends? How is their defense against running backs? Things like that. So then you can really even kind of hone in more on certain players. Cause all right, this defense, they always give it up, giving up 100 yards to a tight end. Oh, damn. These guys have Kittle going up against them. I'm going with Kittle. I'm jamming Kittle in with a bunch of lineups, as opposed to someone else who might see Mark Andrews playing that same lineup and like, I'm gonna go with him because he's a freaking beast, which he is.
Yeah.
But so is Kittle, and less people are going to go with him, but he's probably still going to get you the same amount of points, if not more.
Yeah.
So that's how you kind of separate yourself, from the rest of the pack. And that's what I love about DFS. It makes you look at the game differently.
It does. I mean, when you got me into this and I started watching it, the first thing I did was I did fantasy football style where, you get everybody. And then I'm like, all right, Joe can vouch for me. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. Like, hey, why am I not making any money? I got best players. I think the first couple of weeks I always pick Patrick Mahomes because you can't go wrong with Patrick Mahomes, right?
Right.
So then when I started looking at single games, I'm like, wait a minute, what's this single game thing? And I tried it, and I picked. I think it was a Kansas City Chiefs game. I forget who they were playing, but I picked Patrick Mahomes and I picked that other quarterback. I picked Travis Kelce and I picked that other wide receiver on the other team. And then everybody else was just kind of like whatever the salary cap can keep me, right? I made $250 off that one game because Mahomes and Kelce and then that other quarterback, that wide receiver, it was just a shootout. And everybody else was just like complimentary or they were just there. But I was just like, damn. Yeah. Is this how this thing works? And it was one of those things where it's like, all right. And it sucks because now every time I look at a single game, I'm looking for Patrick Mahomes first. I'm looking to see who they're playing first. And like I said earlier, I try not to pick anybody if they're playing the division, because the division game is always different than the non-division game.
Yeah.
You know,
Harder to call.
Like Shanahan plays better against the division than he does outside the division. Like all he cares about is, let me beat my division. Let me get number one in my division. Everybody else comes secondary.
Yeah.
So I try to pick a Chiefs game where they're playing, you know, the Niners, you know, the Giants, because you know at least Patrick Mahomes will show up, you know, with these teams. But yeah, it's I don't know. It's annoying and it's addicting all at the same time.
Yeah, no, it really is. It could be a mind fuck sometimes. It can make games stressful sometimes, but overall, I think it makes it fun. And like you was talking about single games. Single games are a different animal from the main slate, because you're forced now to really, you know, if I do single games, I usually like to do teams that I feel like I know a lot or more about than others, because when you're doing like, you do the Niners or I'll do the Giants, because it's going to force you now, you know, you'll pick those top 4 players at high salary. It's going to force you now to pick that kind of lower cost guy that's still going to perform. Yeah. So, you know, you're talking about a wide receiver 3, maybe even a backup running back who gets, you know, goal line looks. So, you know, he's going to get a touchdown at least. You know, now it's like, what is your knowledge of the game, or at least this matchup? So that's what makes single games a lot of fun, you know, because now you're doing like a deeper dive into the player pool.
And you have to know the players, you know. You can't just be like, okay, who New York Giants, I don't know who this guy. You can't. You have to know, like, you know, and the thing that sucks, a lot of us, except for the fantasy football nerds, the gods out there who knows every single player in every team, if you're just sitting here and you know just the Giants and you know the Niners lineup, but you don't know the third string running back for the Raiders, or don't, you know, if you don't know any of that, then you're kind of SOL. It's like, I don't know, because you can't. And what I love about FanDuel is they don't let you stack your team. So like if I want to pick 5 Niner players, they won't let you.
Right.
It's like I think you can only pick 4 or 3 on one team. So
4. It's 5 players all together. So you have to pick at least one player from the other team.
Yeah, that's what I like about that. It's like, okay, like I think one week I picked Debo, I picked Kittle, I picked we had Wilson Jr. and I picked I picked Robbie. I picked the Niners defense, and they're like, you got to pick somebody else. Yeah, I picked the 5th person was Robbie Gold. They're like, you got to pick somebody else.
It's going all out. So Niners are gonna kick their ass.
Not gonna kick their ass. Luckily, I didn't, because I think it could have been that Atlanta game too. But what do you feel? How do you feel? Okay, so with this new proposition coming out about making online gambling legal, and I know you brought this up to me the last time we talked about this. This doesn't have anything to do with that online gambling petition, right? That they're doing, that they're trying to get rid of.
No, what they're trying to do is so the reason why we can do fantasy like DFS, it's daily fantasy sports, but DraftKings, FanDuel, there's some other sites, No House Advantage, Prize Picks. The reason why we can do those here in California is because there's a loophole, and basically it's saying kind of what we're talking about is like, it's not luck, it takes skill in order to win the game. So it's not a game of chance, which is kind of bullshit. I mean, it still takes some luck, but that's kind of the premise behind why we're allowed to do it. So this new prop, I think it's Prop 27, is going to allow sportsbook betting, which is completely different. That's like the Vegas style betting, where you're betting on who's winning or losing, or teams making the spread and that sort of stuff. And so that's what they're voting on, which I'm all for, because then that will open up a lot of other websites and like they have FanDuel Sportsbook, DraftKings Sportsbook, which they just made legal in New York, I believe. And so that would kind of open that whole area to us. So yeah, I mean, of course, there's people against it. I personally think it'll pass. I'm voting for it, but we don't talk politics here. I want to be able to play some sports.
No, because the reason why I brought this up is because when you first told me about it, and I downloaded it, I'm like, dude, I can't. It says it's not legal in California. So you told me, oh, that's FanDuel Sports Book. Look for the FanDuel Fantasy Football. So I was like, oh, and I didn't know what the difference was when I first downloaded it. And, I'm pretty sure a lot of people has that same issue. And they're like, okay, I'm going to get FanDuel. But they're like, wait a minute. It says it's not legal in California.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, we don't. Sorry, adjusting my back. We don't talk politics here, but it's just one of those things where it's like, we've been doing this for how many years? We've been enjoying fantasy football for how many years? Yeah, a lot of people do it via internet, or we have friends. But man, if you're going to get rid of that, then you got to get rid of like Yahoo Fantasy Football. Because everybody knows. Yeah, it's not. We all play the money on the side. Everybody knows that. No one's stupid.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, even fantasy, Yahoo has kind of joined into the DFS world. They started, I want to say last year, the year before. I do some Yahoo lineups, so I kind of it's almost like the stock market where they say you want to diversify your portfolio. So I'll take X amount of money, and this is what's great about DFS is this is not necessarily big time. Like if you're a baller and you want to bet a lot of money, go for it. I'm talking about literally pennies. You can play $5, and depending on how you want to spend that $5, you could put it all in one game and go for a big tournament or split it up. But talking about small risk and big reward, which is what you want, right? So I'll spread it out. I'll do DraftKings, I'll do Prize Picks, No House Advantage, and I just started doing Yahoo, and I'll do a few lineups. And the reason why I do it is because Yahoo is relatively new. And so there's not a lot of competition over there. So for people like us who've played a little bit, you got really good odds of winning some money over there. And they have really, really nice games over there where they offer big jackpots. So I always throw a couple bucks over there too.
All right.
Just for the hell of it. So yeah, I check it out. I try not to tell you too many websites because I know I've already got you hooked. You haven't even tried DraftKings. When you get there, that's going to be.
Damn you, Joe. Damn you.
Yeah. And let me be clear. Prize Picks and No House Advantage are similar, but they're different from DraftKings and FanDuel. They're kind of more of a player prop where you'll pick a lineup of 10 guys and you have Joe Burrow is set to pass for 125 yards. You pick if he's going to do over or under, and you do rushing. There's all bunch. You can mix sports. Yeah, you can even. So what's cool about it, you can do up to five people lineup. If you win, it's 10 extra money. If you get all 5 of them. If you get 4 out of 5, it's double your money.
Wow.
So still got chances of winning. And also if you get 3 out of 5, you win something too. So that one's another one that's fun. And what I like about that one is I can do, different sports. I can pick LeBron's rebounds. I can pick Jimmy's passing yards. I can pick
under 100.
Curry's 3-pointers. So yeah, open your wallet, Eric, because you have a long week ahead of you downloading all these apps.
For you guys who watch this on YouTube, this is Joe right now. I just put a robber mask over my face on the Zoom thing because this is what Joe's doing to me right now. He's gonna end up having me. I'll be texting Joe. And the thing about Joe upgraded to an iPhone, which I'm grateful about because I'm tired of looking at that green thing. And I said, that maybe Joe will respond a lot quicker with the iPhone.
Nah.
New phone.
I'm still terrible at that.
New phone. Same old Joe.
I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry to everybody who gets replies from me a day and a half later. I reply in my head. I really do. I just don't actually.
Wait. You were replying to people a day and a half later? I'm waiting 3 days for your reply.
It's a list. My mom sends me a lot too.
I'm getting up there. I'm at the 3-day mark. And, but no, it's funny because I will ask Joe a question, and I need the answer now. Hey, I'm playing this guy. Da. Fuck it, I'll just do it myself. And then, sorry, man, just saw this. 3 days later. That's all right, man.
I do it to myself. You know how many times I've built a lineup? I'm almost ashamed that this happened as much as it has. I have built lineups where, I'll do it in the app, and I'm like, oh, this is it. There's no ownership's great. This is perfect. And I don't hit submit, and I forget, and then I go to hit submit, and it's like, oh, this contest is full.
Close.
And I'm
yeah. I've done that so many times. That's why it's like for me, I got to make sure like Saturday I'm looking at my lineup or Sunday night for Monday night, stuff like that. Yeah. I wanted to ask you, how do you feel about this whole Thursday night football on Amazon? Do you think when it first came out, I kind of said it's kind of good because at least for people who don't have Amazon, it can make them, or Amazon Prime, it can make them upgrade to Amazon Prime. But then I read a rumor that the NFL is purposely putting garbage games on Thursday nights so no one would want to watch Thursday night football.
Well, see, that's why would they do that? I mean, they made the deal with them in the first place.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a little weird to me. I don't mind because I have Amazon, so it kind of sucks for those people, I guess, who don't have it. But it's a little strange to have to sign into an app to watch Thursday night football. I mean, that is the one game out of the week that I really don't get to watch because I'm usually sleeping. So I don't even really do too many single games for that because I'm afraid there might be some last minute changes. Somebody might be out or, game time decisions, something like that. So I usually don't play those, but I mean, I don't know. I kind of feel like they should just leave it on a regular network.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like football, it's just too big of a sport. It's one of America's pastimes. It's not cool that not everyone can get a chance to watch it.
And for it to be on an Amazon Prime, and what killed me about it is, I want to put it on my big screen. I want to watch football on my big screen, but I think there was a World Series game going on at the same time. So you can't jump channels. You can't just say, let me skip to, whatever the World Series was on. You have to literally put it on a tablet or on your computer and watch football there, then watch the baseball on the big screen. I mean, that was the good thing about having it on like the NFL Network. At least the NFL Network was a channel that you can jump between. Like, if the game sucks and it's a blowout, I'm like, let me get out of here. Yeah. But then that football in me wants to jump back on to just see, what the score is or how it's going. But then you got to log back in your app. You got to wait for all this. It's a process.
Yeah, it's weird, and I'm surprised they did it, but I don't think the NFL does more than a year contract with any of these networks. So hopefully they kind of listen to the fans because I feel like it's pretty unanimous. Like people don't like it on Amazon Prime. Could be wrong, but everyone I've spoken to they hate it.
I hate it. Yeah. So I mean,
maybe next year it'll go back to ESPN or something like that.
Let me see what they're. I want to see what they're. How long they're for. Like, how long does Amazon Prime's football's contract for?
Yeah.
I thought it's more than a year.
See that blows if it's more than a year because.
I want to say it's like 2 to 3 years. I want to say, but I'm not sure.
Yeah. It could be one of those situations that they realize the fans hate it. And so maybe that's why they're putting the shitty games on Thursday. Like, all right, we're sorry. Fine. We'll put this out there. The only real Thursday game that I've ever liked is Thanksgiving anyway.
Yeah.
And even then it's like, it used to always be Detroit or Minnesota or someone that, sucked usually.
See, I knew I was right. So get ready to get your ass kicked right now because Amazon and the NFL signed for an 11-year media right contract.
Oh, jeez.
11 years. So we're looking at 2033, and Amazon paid over $1 billion to get the rights for Thursday Night Football.
Wow. And that's only Thursday night football, right? So the Thanksgiving game will still be network.
Well, Thanksgiving games are usually, it's usually a network game. So you're usually looking at CBS or Fox, right? I'm hoping, whatever Thursday night we game on Prime, it's going to be like the Bucks versus the Commanders or something like that.
Yeah.
Actually, let's go ahead and. No, I mean, I like it, but I'm not a big fan of it. It's like I said, the whole process of making sure we have to get on the app. We got to look at this on the app. It's just annoying. And I it's too much for me. It's too much, Yeah.
It really is. Even like the, I don't know what your thoughts are about like the Europe games, like the London games. And then a few years ago, they did Mexico City. Like, I don't know. I don't mind, I guess, sometimes because I'm still at work. when the game starts, so I actually get to watch the beginning of the game when I'm at work. But
Yeah.
I'd be pretty annoyed if I worked regular hours and had to wake up at 6:30 in the morning to watch the Giants play, because they played in London this year. So
yeah. I think the Niners are doing a Mexico City one too. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of those.
Yeah.
At all. Okay, so Thursday night lineup we have, and this says CBS, Fox, NBC, Fox. Oh, so no, it only looks like there's three games and none of them are on Prime.
Okay.
Which is cool. So you have the Bills and the Lions, the Giants and the Cowboys. That's going to be a good one on Thanksgiving. And then the Patriots and the Vikings on Thanksgiving.
Okay. Yeah. So those are just regular Thursday games, but
yeah,
no Thursday night game then.
So Buffalo, Detroit is going to be the early game. That's on CBS. Giants and Cowboys is going to be the afternoon game on Fox. And then it looks like the evening game, the Patriots and the Vikings, is going to be the night game. But it says NBC, so I'm hoping that's NBC and not
I'm
Amazon.
getting no sleep that day. That's for sure.
Well, you got the early, you got the afternoon game. You'll be all right. That's going to be a good game. That's going to be a really good game. Depending on what your standings are going to week 12, that's going to be a good game.
Yeah, a couple of my coworkers are like, "Oh man, your Giants looking good. They'll be in the playoffs." And I'm like, I don't know about that. I think our luck is slowly starting to run out. We'll see after this bye week. We have a bye this week, which is good. But for us to have a chance, we have to, at the very least, split our division. We already lost once to Cowboys, so we definitely have to win that game.
Win that one, yeah.
We have not played the Eagles yet, so if we could pull one out of those two games against the Eagle, I think we have a really good shot at the playoffs. I don't know that anybody's catching up to the Eagles, so I'm pretty sure the division is theirs. But you never know. Football, especially this year, has been crazy.
Yeah.
It's been hard to predict kind of outcomes like it was prior years. I'm hoping this week it starts to level out and I can, enjoy a game of football knowing that I'm gonna have some cash and not have to worry about garbage time points to make my money back. But I'll take it however I can get it,
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm happy with how they're playing, and I think we got a shot. I think we do.
Yeah. I mean, I me looking towards the playoffs, I'm on the same boat as you. Right now Seattle's top in our division. We're they're 5-3 in our division. We're 4-4. The Rams are right behind us, 3-4, and the Cardinals are right there in 3-5. So it's going to be one of those things where whoever messes up first is going to be the one that's going to end up not making the playoffs. I don't think I've ever heard a time where everyone in the division made the playoffs. I mean,
that's interesting.
Someone out there who if someone knows that, if that is, let us know. But yeah, I don't think I've ever seen that. But hey, there's right now, if the season ended right now, the top NFC teams are the Eagles, Vikings, Seahawks, and Atlanta. Wild card is going to be Dallas, Giants, and the Niners, and everybody else behind them, literally except for Detroit and Carolina. Everybody's like a game away from that final spot in the wild card.
Wow.
So how bad is that?
That's going to say, I mean,
if the season ended now,
I would love nothing more than the Giants and the Niners to play in the playoffs.
I would love
aside from the fact that, I'm from New York and I live here and we have the history between us, and I got other friends here we kind of go back and forth with, but it's also a classic rivalry. I mean, we don't play that much, but we've had huge games in the past. And I think that's what it is, because we don't play each other that often. Chances are, if we do play, it's in the playoffs. Yeah. So there's that history there. Yeah. And I mean, like I work with a guy, he's about your age. Whenever I want to mess with him about the Niners, I always bring up LT, and that's like a thorn in his side, So I think would be a really fun playoff game to have the Giants and the Niners go against each other.
And what's going to suck is if the division ended right now, we'd be going to New York in the middle of winter to be playing in the cold, frigid air.
Hey, that's important.
Yeah. I mean, hey, we did it last year against Green Bay. We beat them in that frozen tundra.
I watched the Niners kick the Giants' ass in New York in the winter, so it's definitely possible. I have put it this way: if they make it if they play each other in the playoffs, I'm not going to the game because talk about superstition. Every Niner Giant game I've gone to, the Niners win. So I would definitely watch that from home if it happens. I'm not giving you guys any edge at all. Edge.
But see, okay, so if the season ended now and the Giants, the Niners are the 8th seed in the wild card, we'd be playing. Was it the first? Is it the Philadelphia that gets the bye week?
Yes, first and second.
So it'd be Minnesota and the Niners. It'd be Seattle and the Giants, and then it'd be Dallas and Atlanta if the season ended now, and then Philadelphia gets the winner of whoever. I mean,
I wouldn't mind that rematch against Seattle. We should have won that game.
Oh man, I mean, dude, let's talk about like luck. Geno Smith? Come on. He's another quarterback that just fits the program perfectly, and you have offensive weapons, which he didn't have when he started with the Jets. That's why he bombed at the Jets. That you get put in a good team like Seattle with God, I forget the name of the head coach now.
He played on the Giants too.
Yeah. Oh, did he play on the Giants? He played for both New York teams.
Yeah.
He should have made a trifecta and go to Buffalo. Did he play for Buffalo? He should have been at Buffalo then. Now you're going to make me look. But yeah, so that guy just to be on that team, to him, it's like, wait a minute, man. You just got lucky. That's all it is.
Yeah.
You're on a good team with a good offensive coordinator. Drew Lock was supposed to be their main guy, but no, he's not. Let's see. Oh, yeah, you're right. He was with the Giants. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. He was, I don't know if you remember, this is when it was like Eli's last year. And the Giants were it was a shit show. And I think Coughlin was gone. We had McAdoo and for whatever reason, he benched Eli Manning and put in Geno Smith, ruining Eli Manning's starting streak for his career because he never missed a fucking game. So, so people hated McAdoo, whatever the fuck his name was. And Geno Smith played and was terrible. They should have just left.
This is what I mean about quarterbacks like that. It's like he's good in this system. I mean, we lost to Seattle, I think. No, actually, we beat Seattle. Sorry, we beat Seattle. So we should know how Geno Smith plays. Did we lose Seattle? God, I don't even remember. Now I got to look. But we should know how Geno Smith plays. He's one of those. Yeah. He's one of those guys where. Okay, no, we beat Seattle 27-7. Okay, that's good. He's one of those guys where if you know how to play him, he'll be fine. You'll be fine. You just got to know how to rush him. And I think with the Niners, and again, Kyle Shanahan's play calling on his division is different. He's more aggressive when it comes to his division. And outside the division, it's like, okay, so the following games, we got the Chargers. That's a Monday night. Is it a Monday night or Sunday night? It's one of those, Sunday night maybe. And yeah, we got the Chargers, we got the Cardinals, the Saints, the Dolphins, Tampa Bay, Seattle, Washington, Vegas, and Arizona. I can see us winning, and the thing that sucks, I can see us winning against our divisional teams. I can see us winning Arizona, winning against Seattle, winning against Washington. We got to win against Washington. And depending on which Tom Brady shows up shows up.
Speaking of Tom Brady, I want to ask you how much of his bad play do you chalk up to him being old or him going through a divorce? Because there's a lot of people that are like, he's still got it. It's just this divorce is messing with him. He'll be back next year. Or do you think it's finally Father Time's finally catching up to him?
Well, I think it's a little bit of everything, right? When Gronk says, "Hey, dude, I'm done. I'm not playing anymore." You still got Mike Evans over there, who's a really good receiver.
And Godwin.
But I think Tom Brady is just not there mentally anymore. I think legally he had to play this season because he wanted to make, I think there was a contract stipulation, like if you don't play this season, you're not going to get this much money. So I think he legally had to play this season. That's why he played. And then probably in the back of his head, he's like, oh, fuck, Gisele's leaving me. So I got to make sure I make as much money as I can before she's gone.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's a little bit of both, Yeah,
I mean, to me, it's kind of, it's weird because I think they're part of what they were saying. The reason why they're getting divorced is because he didn't want to stop playing football.
Yeah.
And it's like kind of ironic that you end up picking football over the marriage, and then you know, end up, you know, playing shitty. But I don't know, man. Call me crazy. I say he comes back next year. You know, the divorce is over. He's arrested. You know, he's back on his regimen. I say we get one more good year out of Tom Brady. That's my wild take.
Let me ask you this. With him and all the rumors of him trying to come to the 49ers and all this stuff, you know, like, hey, he wants to play one game with the 49ers. How would you feel if he went to the Giants next year for one game or one season?
For one season? I don't know. I wouldn't be mad at it. It would all have to depend on what happens this season.
Yeah.
With Daniel Jones. Because I kind of feel like with our new coaching and our new GM, they really aren't showing any loyalty to anyone that was here before they got there.
Yeah.
You know, and they've been open about that. We spent a lot of money on our backup, Tyrod Taylor, who I think is pretty good. So
Tyrod Taylor's garbage, just to let you know.
I mean it for a backup. I'm just saying. So yeah, I don't know. With Daniel Jones kind of, you know, not necessarily having his job locked in.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know that I would mind. I don't see them doing it, but I wouldn't mind having Brady, you know, give it a go. But I think it's still ultimately going to come down to what receivers we pick up, because we see it with Brady. I mean, if he doesn't have at least some halfway decent tools, I mean, he can get the ball to anybody, but they have to be somewhat competent.
Yeah.
And I don't know that our O-line could give his old legs as much time as he needs these days. You know, Daniel Jones, he can scramble, he can run, he needs it because our O-line is still young. I know that Brady can handle that, you know, the workload with us.
I was reading an article on Yahoo Sports, and they're talking about 3 teams that Brady can go to and automatically win a Super Bowl next year. And the number one team was the Niners. Niners is definitely number one. They even said the Raiders was a team that he can go to and win a Super Bowl with right away. And the Rams was another one where they said he can go to the Rams, win a Super Bowl right away.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, okay, well, I don't want this guy.
Yeah. And I don't know that. I mean, you know, like my hot take, you know, it's there's some joking there, but I do think he will have another year in him, but I don't know that it's worth for any team to pay what comes along with that. You know, that's too much of a risk.
He's going to ask for a lot of money. I mean, Giselle's taking half of his stuff for, you know, during the divorce.
Which, I mean, she doesn't need it, though. I mean, I think she had more money than him, but, you know.
I think they signed a prenup, and I think with the prenup was mine is mine, yours is yours kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think it's more the child support, how are you going to take care of the kids?
Right.
And, you know, as a dad, I think his decision was stupid and selfish, you know?
Yeah.
It's like you won how many Super Bowls? You should have retired after that Tampa Bay Super Bowl. You proved your point that you can win with any team. And to come back and you pick the NFL over your family, to me was like, come on, dude.
Yeah, it's pretty lame.
Yeah.
There is nothing else that you can do that's going to make anybody think anything better of you. You're considered the GOAT, whether people disagree or not. You're in that conversation.
Yeah.
You're going to be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
No one is going to accomplish what you've done, at least for a very long time. You know, guys are getting healthier and things. Maybe, who knows, people living longer, or you're solidified in football. You don't need to do that.
Giselle says he's not making enough time for us. So Tom Brady should say, look, this is going to be my last season. I promise you, after this, I mean, do something to try to make the marriage work out, right?
Right.
But the fact that she's like, no, he's picking football over his family makes me realize you're right. He might come back next year.
Yeah.
You hair on the shoulder.
You can't blame her, you know?
Yeah.
And it makes you think, you know, what success is great, but at what cost? You know, at what point do you say enough is enough? I'm happy with what I've accomplished. And you know, like, I feel like there was the thing is, I understand him having a hard time leaving football. He loves it so much. This has been his passion his whole life.
Yeah.
It's been his identity for his life up until this point. But there's been a blueprint of guys who've done this before him where there's still a lot of things you can do in football.
Yeah.
You know, you can do commentary, you can be a coach, you can be an owner. There's just tons of things he can do. And he has, he has the personality for it. He's likable. People love him. So I don't know, man. I don't, maybe who knows? Maybe there's something there deeper. We don't know their business, and maybe football was just an excuse, but maybe he just didn't really want to be with her anymore.
He don't want to be at home. Maybe because her little side guy, is like, at home during football season. It's like, Tom, your 23-year-old lady cannot be here during football season. All right.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what's going on. Man, this has been fun, man. I miss talking to Joe and to talk about something as passionate as football. Both of our teams. We didn't really, for you guys who was like, I got a coworker who was like, man, how do you stay calm when you talk about the Giants with Joe? And, talking about, Joe brought up the history of us. And when I watched football back in the 80s, and there was a Phil Simms and Lawrence Taylor, DeMarc Bavaro, Jeremy Shockey, to go down, everybody there. Yeah, I hated the Giants, but I didn't know anybody who liked the Giants, So now you actually know someone who's a big fan. Like, I hate the Raiders, but I know a lot of Raider fans to where I'm cool with you as a fan. But don't get me wrong, come playoffs and we're playing against each other, there's going to be a lot of trash talking. Let me ask you this. Last question before we're done. TikTok has gone famous showing a lot of fights during football games, or just any game in general, but now that it's football season, there's a lot of fights during football games. Are you one of those guys where if someone talks shit to you at a game that you got to clap back and say something back to them, or you just one of those, yeah, you're right, man, high five?
Yeah, it depends if I'm a visitor or not. If I'm at home and you're a visitor and you're talking shit, then yeah, I'm probably gonna say something back. With me, it's never going to get to a point where it would be like putting hands on each other or anything like that, unless you did something to me. But I would definitely talk shit. But I've gone to Giants games here in Santa Clara and against the Raiders in Oakland. And I was sitting in Oakland. We were in season ticket holder seats, went with a buddy of mine. So, I'll clap, I'll cheer, but I keep it, I keep it respectful. I don't go crazy. I'm definitely not, obnoxious about it, because, I got to get home safe.
I'm gonna tell you a quick story. It's not a football game, it's a baseball game. My work got us Giants tickets to go watch the San Francisco Giants. And of course it's against the Dodgers. It's a night game, it's a Friday night game. I'm like, fuck, I don't really want to go, but I had to show support from my work. We were sitting on the top level, and they have one of the best hot dogs if you're ever sitting at the upper level. So I got to walk a mile to get to this place because it's not where we're sitting. So I finally get there, and then there's this Hispanic dude holding 2 beers, and I accidentally elbow him. Like, beer spills all over the place. Not a lot, but enough to where, like, dude, I'm paying $10 for this beer. I don't want nothing spilling, right?
Right.
So I turn around, I look at him and his friends, and I'm talking about Latin Dodger fans, totally different. They're looking at me like, you motherfucker. And I'm like, yo, man, I'm sorry, man. I was like, you know what? Let me go buy you another beer. Where'd you get it from? Let me go buy you another beer. And then his friend went from like, I'm going to kick your ass to like, oh, man, no, that's cool, man. That's really cool. And then they ended up being a gay couple, which to me was kind of like, okay, but they still can kick my ass because they look scary.
You really gotta get jumped.
Yeah. I was like, yo, man, I go, yo, I'm really sorry. I go, let me buy you another beer. I was like, you know what? Let me buy you a hot dog. And then the guy goes, no, man, I'm a vegetarian. I don't eat hot dogs. And I'm like, all right. And then they patted me on the back. They walked away. And then there was this white guy that was standing in front of me. He turns around and he goes, I really thought you were going to get your ass kicked. I said, so did I.
He probably had his phone out. He was waiting.
No, the funny thing was, he looked when I hit him, and then he turned around right away like, I'm not getting into this shit. I'm not going to say anything's wrong. He's going to get his ass kicked on his own. Yeah.
No. There's a certain etiquette you have to have when going to any sport,
Yeah.
like live game.
Yeah.
And, especially with football. That's why I like baseball games. For the most part, they're pretty laid back and chill. Although I did get to experience a Giants Dodgers game, and that was a really fun experience for me. Not necessarily being a fan of either team, although I support the Giants when they're not playing against the Mets. But getting just to sit there in this like random game in the middle of the season, which meant nothing but felt like a playoff game, was freaking awesome. Like that. Those are fun games, and if you're ever in town or if you live here, you get a chance to go to a Giants Dodgers game. Do it. It's a fun game to watch.
Be careful though. Be careful. That's all I gotta say. Be apologetic.
Be careful.
Be ready to buy somebody a beer, because I think that's what diffuses situation. Let me buy you a beer.
Just be aware of your surroundings. Don't do the blind walking like my wife does sometimes. I always have to watch right. I'm her buffer.
That's what I did.
She's on the phone or it's like this, and I gotta make sure she's not making me have to buy beer.
I was like looking in the line, and then I turned around and they were like, it was kind of his fault too. It's like, what? I mean, when you go to these games, you got to be literally a foot away from everybody, right. And he was right behind me, and I went like this to turn around, and again, I spilled just a little bit, not a lot, but the look on his face, him and his friend's face, is like, oh fuck.
I mean, it's the nice thing to do. I mean, it is expensive.
Yeah. We should do another podcast, come closer to the playoffs, to talk about where our teams are. A follow-up podcast, and maybe do a podcast if we're playing against each other moving forward.
Yeah. Let's do it.
That sounds fun.
That'd be fun.
Super Bowl predictions. What's your prediction right now? Let's go ahead and throw that out.
Right now, my predictions. I'll go with Buffalo. They're AFC, correct?
Yeah.
I say Buffalo and Philly.
I'm torn between Buffalo and Kansas City. I'm torn between Buffalo and Kansas City. I do see Kansas City and Buffalo making a Buffalo and Kansas City making a good playoff team moving forward. But I'm agreeing with you on the Philadelphia part. So I think Philly's gonna, as much as I'm a Niner fan, I'd want to see them in the playoffs. I want to see them be successful. But you guys got to go beat them moving forward. You guys got to find a way. You guys got 2 games against them coming up, and you guys got to beat them just to humble them a little bit.
It's going to be tough. I mean, as much as I would love to see that, I don't know that we have the tools, but not giving up, man. Any given Sunday, we've seen a lot of crazy games this year, and the Giants have surprised us thus far. So hopefully they keep it going.
Your next schedule coming up after the bye, you got Houston, which you guys should win. Detroit, which you guys should win. Dallas, it's a toss up.
That's the one we need to win.
Washington, you guys should win. Then you got the Eagles right after that in December 11th. Then again the Commanders right after that. Minnesota, toss up. The Colts, you guys should win against the Colts, and then Philadelphia again. So
the last game of the season. So,
I mean, you guys can end up winning. You guys can end up winning the division if you guys beat.
We have a soft schedule, so man, it's a little disappointing we didn't get a wide receiver, but hopefully, we can do it with what we got. Ricky James, who lost the game for us last week with two punt fumbles. He got, he pissed me off, and then I'm just like any other fan, I get mad, but I went to his Instagram and saw how he was abused by Giants fans. And so I was kind of like, you know what? I don't need to add insult to injury. Hopefully he learns his lesson. He'll hold on to the ball this week or next week, and we can get it done.
I hate that, right? And the reason I hate that as a coach for the high school football team that I coach for, we are 4-1 in our division. We killed every team up to last week. Last week we played our rivalry, Lincoln High School. It was for the Bell game, and we lost 49-0. But before that, we were killing like 50-3, 72 to whatever. We were killing teams. We lose one game and social media goes crazy. You guys suck. Yeah. What's wrong with this coaching staff? Da 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 da. He's like, no excuses. We were 3 of our starting defensive guys were not playing. Our starting quarterback wasn't playing. So it was hard to beat a team that was 100%, that had everything going for them.
Right.
But what kills me is that you guys forgot how good we were the first 4 games. And on the 5th game, we get our ass kicked and you guys are blowing us up.
Yeah. You're only as good as your last performance in this sport. It sucks. And you know what's crazy is I bet you a lot of those negative comments were probably from parents and adults, not even from the kids.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's it's Bonta Hill, he's a high school Washington alum who's on 95.7 The Game. I'm calling him out because of this. He said, oh, my old high school played their bell game and they got their ass kicked. They're the laughing stock of San Francisco right now. I'm like, where were you the first 4 games?
Yeah.
Where were you when we beat Burton, when we beat Galileo, when we beat Balboa, and we beat Lowell? We beat the defending champs of Balboa. We beat them pretty good, and you didn't say nothing there. The fact that we lost one game, it was a bell game. Yeah, it was a home game. But why did you say something then and you didn't say nothing before that? That's just my 2 cents.
Those fair weather fans, man. That's what it is.
And this is what it's like, okay, now I know what it's like to be on the coaching side of this is a high school football team. Just think about the NFL. Right. Like you just said, Twitter blew up on that guy. Poor guy, right? It's like, you suck, get out of here. And I'm pretty sure people were saying worse things.
Oh, yeah. They were out of pocket. They were saying things you shouldn't say to people. Whether in jest or not, it's uncalled for.
Yeah. No, but it is what it is. And, it's like, I wish people would remember at the end of the day, whether you're a high school football player or NFL player, they're regular people. They have feelings. They know what they did wrong. They know how they made their mistakes. Instead of discouraging them, encourage them to do better moving forward. And
exactly.
That's me as a high school football coach all the time. Hey, don't get discouraged. We're gonna get you guys in the next time. So that's pretty much what it is.
Yeah.
This has been fun. I love doing this, talking about stuff. We'll touch back again next time to see what we're going to talk about. Again, sorry for you guys who are expecting a TV review or a movie review.
Next time.
I'm watching Andor right now, which is, I guess, their 9th or 10th episode coming up. I finished She-Hulk, which, if Joe's watched, we can, because you were a big Hulk fan and you couldn't wait for She-Hulk. So maybe next time. Did you finish it?
I did not. But for the sake of the podcast, I will power through it, and not to hint at how I feel about it at all, but we can.
What episode are you on?
3, I believe.
Oh yeah, you got a while ago.
Yeah.
Well, you take your time finishing it. I'm in no hurry to talk about it, but when you're ready to talk about it, we can talk about that. But until then, we'll come up with something. We'll talk about something. Joe did reach out to me about The Barbarian on HBO Max. And then I looked at it, and I'm not a big guy on watching stuff that can really happen. I think you guys know that from me, That looked like something that can really happen in real life. So I'm like,
that one was I just started hearing it from people, and a few people that at work that I talk about movies with mentioned it to me in passing. And it was kind of one of those things like, what, all right, I keep hearing this. Let me watch it. And I kind of went into it blind. So I was just like, oh, okay, this is, and I always forget, Eric's not necessarily into the, crazy horror slashers, if it's killing kind of stuff.
My coworker goes, so if there was an alien from outer space that told this guy he needs to start killing people, would you watch it? Like, yeah, because now it's a sci-fi. It's a sci-fi. I'm into sci-fi. It's like the whole Jeffrey Dahmer thing. I didn't get into the whole Jeffrey Dahmer thing.
I did, unfortunately. But that's partly because my wife's into those kind of real true crime. So it was actually really, really good, but sickening at the same time.
I mean, a lot of, you guys already heard a lot of people sued Netflix because they just brought back memories of their family members, dying. So,
yeah.
So I get it.
It's traumatizing.
But until next time, guys, Thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for watching. We are going to upload this on YouTube and all the podcast platforms you guys listen, except for Radio Public. For some reason, they're not working anymore. I don't know why, but we're available on all podcast platforms. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for watching. Until next time, we are the Ordinary Joes.
Peace.
See ya.
You're listening to the Ordinary Joes podcast.